am Bria Bryant, Global CMO at Assembly, and we are here in sunny Miami at the Possible 2026 conference. I am live at the Assembly Content Cabana with Jeremy Fain. Jeremy is the co-founder and CEO of Cognitiv.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk to you. You are fresh off of the Adweek AI Power 50 recognition.
Yes.
Very cool. Congratulations on that. And this conversation is really going to be about a decade of deep learning and where this category goes next. So Jeremy, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so I'll get started. You placed the original Cognitiv bet on deep learning back in 2015.
Yes.
So what was novel then that simply isn't anymore?
Everything was novel then. In 2015, nobody had heard of deep learning.
Okay.
Well, there was a lot of things that were happening in 2015. First of all, people did not like the term AI. Okay, now deep learning and AI are synonymous.
Yeah.
And in fact, we just say AI, we don't really say deep learning. But it's, back then, AI had a bad name in ad tech because a couple of companies had said they did AI and then it didn't really work out, it wasn't real, it was like a lot of smoke and mirrors. And so we actually had to market ourselves without the word AI in 2015.
Interesting.
And we had to call ourselves a deep learning company, which nobody understood.
Okay.
So we had to do a lot of education, which always when you're a first mover, that's what happens. You have to do a lot of education. But it was a long, slow climb from the beginning, but it was a great and exciting adventure.
Very, very cool. All right, so deep learning and Gen AI get blurred together constantly. Why does the distinction matter, and why does it matter to say that out loud?
That's a great question, because I think we as an industry skip and jump from one thing to another. And right now we're talking a lot about agentic AI, which is this offshoot of large language models and things like that. But deep learning is the underpinning technology of all of these things, LLMs, agents, etc. And ultimately what I want people to understand when we meet with our brands and things like that is that let's talk about the fundamental technology first, which is a generalization tool and a prediction tool. And what it's doing is it's generalizing something to predict the next thing, okay? So in LLM, one of the reasons why when you use ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever, a lot of the time words will come out one at a time. I don't know if you know, it sort of scrolls. You've noticed that? Well, it's actually because it's predicting every single next word, okay? And when we do self-driving cars, it's predicting whether that thing it's seeing is a stop sign or a red light or whatever. And it's generalizing to all the stop signs that it's recorded in the past and looked up, etc. And so what we do in marketing with deep learning is we do the same thing, but it's all big data, right? So LLMs use all of the written language and now videos and images, and self-driving cars use tons and tons and tons of hours of recorded car driving, etc., with real humans. We use the billions of data points we have in the programmatic internet space to model and understand consumer behavior and then predict the next step in that journey. So instead of predicting the next word as the answer for our LLM our AI tool, we are predicting whether somebody is ready to buy or go to a store or visit a site, etc.
Very cool. It's funny you mentioned self-driving cars because I literally just had a conversation with someone about them. I was in one in LA and the car did a California roll.
Yeah.
So I was like, how did this car know to do that? Shouldn't it be following the rules of the road? But I guess if it has been learning.
That's right. It is sort of surprising, actually. There's a big difference that I've experienced with Tesla versus Waymo.
Yeah.
And I think Tesla is driving pretty safely. And I think what was surprising to me when I took my first Waymo was how human it was in a lot of little things, like how it accelerates, how it slows down, how it makes turns, things like that.
Yeah.
So it's all because of human drivers it's learning from.
Very cool. I had no idea.
Yeah.
All right, so Context GPT has grown 388%. From your seat, what's the real inflection point there? What's driving that number?
Yeah, so everything we do is driven by a foundational platform we call the Deep Learning Advertising Platform. And that DLAP, as we call it, is what all of our products have grown out of. So we started with a DSP because we do custom algorithms, and the reason we had to build our own DSP was because nobody could handle deep learning back then. We talked about 2015, nobody could handle an algorithm designed with deep learning. And so we had to build our own DSP. But that was on top of an algorithm technology that was always all deep learning. From that platform, we had been using large language models and its predecessors to understand what was the content on the page that we were being asked to buy. That, because of the cookie apocalypse, was an idea that we had that we could actually take that feature and make it into a full-blown product. So Context GPT was born. It was the first contextual product where you could create your own custom segments by typing in a prompt. And so now we see a lot of those coming around. Everybody says they have a prompt or they can do a chat bot to create something. Context GPT was the first, and so it just exploded sort of overnight.
So everyone's talking about the line between useful AI and AI slop. There's so much discussion around AI slop. Where do you see useful ending and damage beginning?
Yeah, I think that, first of all, we look at things as a performance company. So everything we do is data-based, okay? We look at content and we could say, hey, this is an MFA site or this is AI slop or whatever. But more importantly, the question is, does it perform, okay? And generally speaking, AI slop and MFAs don't perform very well because humans don't really like the experience, etc. But that doesn't mean that they never perform. Now, I'm not going to say that we do not target MFAs, we don't buy on MFAs, but a lot of our clients don't like MFA sites or AI slop and things like that. But if you're a performance advertiser and you're trying to drive to a sale, maybe there's good AI slop out there. Maybe there's bad AI slop. But the algorithm will figure it out. That's the cool part of what we do, is that a lot of the time, anything that is creating false positives, fraudulent, non-human activity, etc., is detected automatically by the algorithm because we're optimizing to real human activity like a sale. Not many bots out there buying things because that's very expensive.
Right.
So I think that our algorithm is really interesting in that it can identify those problematic pages and it will optimize away from them automatically without human interaction.
Got it. So interesting. Okay, what do you think is the most under-discussed opportunity in ad tech right now?
I think the one thing that we've always believed in, and if you take a look at our pitch decks back in 2015, 11 years ago, is that one algorithm to rule it all, right? It's this idea of deep learning because of the amount of data that it can take in, being our tagline is the brain behind the brands, right? And so now we see, finally, with the product suite that we have built on top of this deep learning advertising platform and the white label and strategic partnership integrations we've been doing throughout the ecosystem, we see that this deep learning advertising platform can and is the brain for our brands so that we can take first-party data, build a brain, an algorithm, it's bigger than a single algorithm, but a brain around that first party data that understands the difference between Ford versus GM or Nike versus Adidas or whatever. And we can have each of those brains making decisions differently for the different brands throughout the funnel, all the way from the top with Context GPT and Audience GPT and those kind of branding capabilities, down through the middle consideration funnel into the decision and acquisition and purchase, and then even sort of on the loyalty piece, like who When do we talk to somebody when they're ready to come back and buy? I think we all have experienced, I just bought something and now I'm getting 10,000 emails to buy something else. Like, that is not the right way to get additional revenue and to drive customer loyalty. We can take a look at all that data now with a single brain and deliver results from the top to the bottom. And nobody's talking about that.
There we go. We need to be talking about that. So I have one last question for you, and this one is off. It's off the list.
The lightning round.
Lightning round question. Knowing what you know now, what would you do differently in founding Cognitiv?
That's a great question. I think we're lucky to have had a pretty smooth ride. I think one thing is, if I had known about COVID, I would do a bunch of different things differently. I think that was a 2-year unique situation for B2B marketers and advertisers, businesses. It was a unique situation for B2B businesses because so much of what we do is like this at Possible, right? And we had none of that. Nobody was answering phones. Nobody was at their desks. That was a very hard time for us. I think that if we had had a little bit of preparation time, I could have done a bunch of different things for COVID. But I think beyond that, we stuck to our guns. We believed in deep learning, and I think we're in a great position now to just grow along with Assembly and all of their clients.
Amazing. And one last thing, is there anything that you would like to leave the audience with?
Look, what I want the audience to understand about deep learning is that it's a big data technology. Don't worry about whether it's an LLM or an agent or whatever. If you have the right big data, or you have a partner like Cognitiv that has the right big data, we can solve a lot of different business problems for you. You no longer have to worry about clicks or click-through rate. You can worry about your business KPIs because you'll have this AI brain that can help you solve the problem with the right data set. So it's not really about LLMs.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.